Today, we are going to talk about how we can create topics and actions in Microsoft Copilot Studio. And the content we are going to see is part of the Copilot Developer Camp content. So in case you want to dig more into these topics, please go to the link that I'm sharing right now in the chat or use the QR code on the screen. And you will be able to learn more about how to create agents with no code, low code, or with pro code, depending on what you want to do and what the goals you want to achieve are. So in the Copilot Camp, you can find content about different areas, like if you want to be a maker, how you can do that using the Copilot Studio Agent Builder or the Microsoft Copilot Studio or the SharePoint agents. Or if you want to be a developer, you can choose if you want to create a declarative agent to extend Microsoft 365 Copilot, or if you want to use a custom model, a custom orchestrator, and create what we call the custom engine agent. You can go for that path as well, and you can learn how to do that. Today, we are focusing our attention on the Copilot Studio section, and we will talk about, as I said, topics and actions. But before going there, I'm really happy to share with the whole community that today we are starting a new initiative. I would say finally, we start a new initiative which will allow all of the community members to get a badge if they will complete the training pathways of the Copilot Dev Camp. And specifically, we will have different flavors of badges. We took inspiration from the judo because I was a judoka when I was really young, many years ago. And we have the blue belt for those who will complete one of the paths, the make, the extend, or the build one. We have the black one for those of you who will complete all of the path, and the red one, the sensei one, if you will be also sharing your knowledge with the community, providing a sample to the sample gallery. The initiative starts today and the 20th of May, and we will allow the very first 200 community members to claim their badges. How can you do that? Well, you go to the Copilot Dev Camp, you go under the award section that we just published. Here you can find all of the instruction and all of the rules. And while going through the content of all of the labs, you will check that you are done with every single step, little by little. And when you are done with all of the steps, like I am right now, you will get this congrats message, and you will be able to click on this blue button. By selecting this blue button, you will have to fill in a form. And by providing your data, which we will use just for the sake of giving you a badge, and then we will get rid of your data, you will be able to claim your badge and to be happy and share with the community your achievement. Please don't change this unique ID that you will see pre-filled in the form, otherwise you will not be able to claim your badge. So I told you so. Watch out, okay? That said, let me go back to the slide deck just briefly, and let's move to the actual topic of today. Sounds like a joke of words, but we are going to talk about topics and actions. And so let's first of all see what a topic is in Microsoft Copilot Studio. Topics are basically building blocks that you can use to create a conversation path in the agents. And you can create them either using a graphical designer or just by describing with natural language what's the goal that you want to achieve. You can have up to 1,000 topics for every agent, and there are system topics and custom topics. The system topics are automatically generated by MCS. You can eventually disable some of them, but you cannot delete them. The custom topics are those that we create by ourselves, and this is the topic we are going to cover right now, the argument we're going to cover right now. The actions are also used to improve the capabilities of your agents and to extend the capabilities by being able to interact with external Power Automate flows, with external connectors, to reuse libraries of actions, and as such to improve the functionalities of your agent. You can trigger actions from within a topic, so you could have a topic which will trigger an action, or you can use the generative orchestrator of Copilot Studio and simply trigger your actions by providing a prompt which is meaningful for your agent and which will actually trigger a specific action that you defined. So that said, let's move to my demo environment, and let's see how you can create topics and action. And again, I'm going to show you a sample which you can, if you like, build on your own environment simply by following the instructions on the Copilot Dev Camp. So let's start from here. Let's say that we have here. Let's say that we have in Microsoft Copilot Studio, and we want to create a new agent. And this agent, for the sake of making an example, will be an agent which will allow us to work on a set of resumes in a document library that we have in SharePoint Online, as well as it will allow us to work with a list of hypothetical candidates that we have stored in an Excel file, just for the sake of making a simple example that you can reproduce on your side. So let's go to Copilot Studio. Let's create a new agent. It will be, for example, an HR agent. Let me skip the text definition. Let me go to the actual configuration. It can be HR agent for community, just for the sake of giving it a name. It helps HR folks to work with candidates and resumes. Okay. And let me provide just a quick set of instructions, like the system prompt for this agent. You help HR employees to find candidates and evaluate resumes, or something like that. And let's create it like it is right now, and then I'm going to enrich it with some knowledge base and with topics and actions. Takes a few seconds to create my agent, and as soon as it will be ready, we can go and add, first of all, the document library as a data source for my agent. So let me copy the URL of the site in the meantime. And here we can go to the knowledge section, and we can add a new knowledge base, which can be a SharePoint one. We have already been through this kind of stuff in previous demos, so I'm pushing on the gas pedal right now, but I will slow down as soon as I will be creating topics and action. I want to target the list of the library of resumes in my site, and this will be the data source for my agent. So the list of resumes for candidates, for example. This will be the description. Once I'm done with that, I have my agent, I have my knowledge base, just for the sake of having a sample knowledge base, and I'm going to enable the generative orchestration. So I'm enabling this option because I want to show you something which I think is really cool when we talk about agents. So let me go to the topic section, and let's say that we want, for example, to work on the resumes, and we want to identify a candidate that we want to manage in our hypothetical list of candidates. So here I can create a new topic from blank, for example, and I can say that this topic will have a specific scope, a specific functionality. So I simply provide as a description, since we enabled the orchestration-based, the generative AI-based orchestration in Copilot Studio, I can simply say that this topic helps to collect information about a new candidate, to add to a list of potential candidates, and the trigger sentences are register a new candidate, create a new candidate, add a new candidate, and so on and so forth, okay? Then I want to add to this topic a capability to collect information about a new candidate. And in order to do that, I will ask with an adaptive card the content about the candidate that I want to register, to create. In order to do that, I can simply click on this icon, and here you can see we have the source code of the JSON file for my adaptive card. And I can simply paste the JSON of an adaptive card that I already defined, which will allow me to configure a set of properties. For example, we can collect information about the first name, the last name, the email, the current role, and so on and so forth. For the sake of simplicity, in our sample right now, I'm just focusing on collecting the first name, the last name, the role, and as you can see, you can freely play with the JSON of the adaptive card, and I'm going to also get rid of all of the languages, and I simply want to collect first name, last name, current role, and the skills of the user, or the candidate, sorry. As you can see, while I'm collecting the data, I'm also storing the data automatically. Copilot Studio is storing data inside topic variables that I have inside this specific topic, so that later on I can do stuff like, for example, showing the output to the user, so showing to the user the data that I collected. So, for example, I can say that I want to send a message to the user to confirm the data that I collected, and I want to still use an adaptive card to provide a feedback to the user, so that my adaptive card could be, again, as a JSON object, the following one, where you can see I have just the listing of all of the data that I collected. Now, the interesting part comes here, because since I am in a topic and I have all the power of the Power Platform, in this JSON, I can switch to the formula mode, and I can replace these hard-coded values with actual content that I can get through the context of my topic. So let me expand this UI. And here, for example, when I was providing the placeholder for the first name, I can say that from my topic, I want to get the first name that the user provided through the adaptive card that I defined before to collect the data. I can do the same for all of the other fields. So the last name, for example, and I can do that for the current role. So let me do that, topic.current role, and I can then manage the skills. Let's try to manage the skill. The skill was a list of skills. So if we choose the list of skills, actually, this is a table of selected values, which is not a good fit for a text field in the adaptive card. But again, using Power Effects and the powerful capabilities of the Power Platform, I can simply say that I want to concat all of the skill values with a comma within each of them, and I want to convert it to a text, so that at the very end, I'm providing a formula to define the output of my, the content of my adaptive card, which will become the output of my action. So let me save now this action, which can be, for example, register a new candidate. Okay, let me save this guy. And once I've done that, I can test this new topic simply by using the test interface that I have right here. So I can say, register new candidate. This will trigger my topic. I will be able to provide data about the hypothetical candidate. So again, I keep on using this sample John White hypothetical candidate, or whatever else name you like. Could be a senior developer and expert with experience in computer programming. So let's submit this content, and as you can see, you get back the adaptive card with information about the newly registered candidate. Now, that's cool, but we are not actually feeding the list that we have in Excel. So in order to play with Excel, let me switch to the actions, and here I want to, first of all, create a new action to manage my list of candidates. So if I open this file, we can see that right here we have these items, these 10 items with this hypothetical candidate. So let's create a new action. This action will, for example, work with a native connector, which is the Excel Online Business connector, and I'm going to list rows present in this table. So by selecting this action in the Excel connector, I need to connect to Excel, and that's what I have just done now. And then I need to provide, for example, a description for my action, which could be list candidates. And I can also provide a description which will be used by the generative AI in Copilot Studio to identify when it needs to target this specific action. I'm going to use user authentication so that I will behave under the identity of the currently connected user, and I can add my action to the agent in Microsoft Copilot Studio. Now we are almost there. We simply need to slightly configure the action itself so that it will target our content in the SharePoint online library. So first of all, let's go to the input section. And here we have the location of the file that we want to read data from. So let me provide a static value right here. I confirm that I want to use a static value. And let me copy the actual URL of the site where the the Excel file is stored. So let me copy this value and let me paste it right here, okay? Then we move to the document library, and here we want to use it again as a static value. So I'm going to use the library of the resumes, of the candidates, which is the one where I have my Excel file. And actually, because I'm a lazy developer, let me copy the name of the Excel file right here. Then let me go to the file section, input argument, and let's provide a static value for this one as well. And my file will be .xlsx, the name of the file that I have in SharePoint Online. Now, the table that I want to target, because in order to do that, you need to have a table in the Excel file, I'm going to say that I want to use the table of the candidates table, which I have right here in my Excel file. Cool. So now I can save my action again. And in a matter of few seconds, I will be able to trigger my action simply by providing a prompt in natural language, like, for example, show me the list of candidates. And by doing that, as you can imagine, using the generative AI, Copilot Studio, as you can see, triggered the connector for Excel and was able to list all of the candidates in the file. But in order to be able to do that, we need to connect to the connector. So let me do that. Let me click on the connect button from the test interface. And let me confirm by selecting connect right here that I want to connect to the Excel Online Business Connector. Now that I'm done and almost done with the connection, now I'm done for sure, I can come back and say retry and see the list of candidates. As you can see, I've got already my 10 items, and we can already dig into them right here. We can see the JSON we have got, and here we can see the output in the test UI. Now, and just to complete this demo, based on the timing that I have, I still have 5 minutes, so I'm going to use all of them. I'm going to use the same capability also inside the topics. So back to my topic to register a new candidate, I want to add the candidate to the actual Excel file so that by triggering the action to list all of the candidates, I can see the new candidate added to my list. So back to this topic, between the adaptive card to collect the input and the adaptive card to show the collected input, I want to add an action which will simply rely on a Power Automate flow that I already created and I'm going to show you, which will insert a new candidate in the list of candidates for HR. So let me choose this one right here. And before digging into the settings of this action, let me show you that in Power Automate, I have this flow, which I can edit and show you. And this flow will be triggered by Copilot. We'll simply use, again, the Power Platform connector for Excel to add to that specific file, in that specific library, in the target site, the settings for first name, last name, role, and expertise of the candidate, so that inside Copilot Studio, I can simply say that, well, the first name that I want to use will be the first name that I collected in the topic. The last name, of course, will be the last name. The role, the role will be the current role of the user. And again, and as before, the expertise will be based on the skills of my hypothetical candidate. So I'm going to use a formula, which will be again text concact, of all of the skills provided by the user. So let me insert this formula, and now I can save my topic. And if I will, and I'm going to do that, if I will refresh the conversation as soon as the topic will be saved, let me refresh the conversation here in the test your agent interface. I can say one more time, register a new candidate. Okay. I will provide, as before, the name, the role, and everything else about my candidate. So, John White, senior developer, or whatever else you like. I will be a computer programmer. I can submit my request. I will connect again, because I need to insert the item and to trigger the flow that I'm going to use. I'm already connected to Excel Online Business, but I'm not connected to the other connector used by the Power Automate flow. And once I'm done with the connection, back to Copilot Studio, I can retry again. And of course, this will happen only the first time when you have to create the connection. So now the candidate summary is right here. And I can double check here. And we have John White, Senior Developer, Computer Programming. And we can also see here that if we trigger again the action to show the list of candidates, we can see that now we have John White in the list of candidates. In fact, now we have 11 items instead of 10. This is really, really cool because just using few clicks and few formulas, you can build a solution with the Power Platform to read and write content of an Excel file using an agent, and you can use the agent, of course, through the test UI of Copilot Studio, but also in Teams or in Microsoft 365 Copilot chat. So that said, back to the slide deck very quickly, just to say thank you, and to switch to the next section of content for this community call. Thank you.